That is the Chainsmokers, and Who Do You Love on the Morning Buzz on KLIR 101. It's 9:04, time for a closer look at KLIR's community. This morning, I'm very pleased to welcome Superintendent of Columbus Public Schools, Troy
Loeffelholz.
Thank you.
A good German name. Good German name.
I'm so bad at that. I'm just going to start calling you Troy L.
You know what? That's what most people do.
Or Dr. Troy.
Dr. L, Troy L.
It works
Yep,
good.
It does.
Loeffelholz.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how is the education to the public going for the bond issue?
You know, it's going really well. It's a little bit different than past bond issues. Getting people to community events seems like it's getting harder and harder to do because people are just so busy. Mm-hmm. But, with internet and with social media, and, you got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got a lot of things going on out there right now that I think a lot of people are getting their information that way. And they're sending us questions via email. So we're answering a lot of questions online, which is really good. That means they're engaged. The community's engaged.
So let's just start out with what are we going to be doing, assuming it passes? Mm-hmm. So we were talking about how it's $53 million, and people say that seems like a lot. But to me, since we are going to be doing so much with that money, I think it's really going to be amazing.
$53.5 million is a lot of money. We're not going to sugarcoat that at all. But at the same time, we're touching every building except Lost Creek, for that matter, even our district offices for alternative education. So we're touching a lot of buildings for that $53.5 million. And, the question we get is, well, geez, the high school is 49 and the conversion of the middle school was under that 49. Why is this more? And when you look at construction costs, labor costs, all those pieces that add up, we were told on a study done by our contractor that construction cost and labor cost just in education projects has gone up over 17% in the last year. And so when you have materials, rising prices in materials, rising prices in labor, you have to pay the bills, right? And so we always, we look at it from the standpoint of where there's need because of our growth, it's not going to get cheaper 5 years down the road. The national average is 7 to 10% growth or 7 to 10% increase in cost per year for construction. Well, you start adding that up, now you're at $70 million. And we want to be fiscally responsible for our community, and we want to do things to project out more than 10 years with these projects. And if we can increase our capacity by 30 to 35 classrooms, we feel like we're in pretty good shape for the years to come.
And besides touching all the buildings we already have, you're going to be building a brand new school.
Yes,
a whole building.
Yeah, a brand new elementary school. We're seeing a big push at the elementary grade levels as far as enrollment. 2 of our buildings are over capacity right now at the elementary, and the other 3 within 15 students of being at that capacity. And Centennial's sitting at over 450 students, and that's once you get around 400 students, that's really a large size for an elementary school. It's a lot of young kids in a school building, and so a new elementary relieves some of that pressure. The schools that are probably going to see the relief the most are probably going to be North Park and Centennial. And then there could be some boundary changes within that help the other schools as well. So adding 2 more sections to our school district helps with anywhere between 40 and 60 children.
So if you have not received your mail-in vote ballot, you should be seeing it soon. Yes,
the election commissioner released them on Monday. I received mine on Tuesday, and I know a lot of other people received theirs yesterday. So it's a slow rollout. I mean, we're dependent on the mail system, obviously. But by the end of the week, most people, if not all people, should have their mail-in ballots. And if they don't, then they need to call the election commissioner and find out where they're at.
So one of the things you mentioned is that you've had people sending you questions. So what are some of the questions you've seen?
Sure. One of the questions we get, and I've gotten this several times, is, well, if a ballot's not turned in, is it an automatic yes or an automatic no? And the answer to that question is it doesn't get counted at all.
It's an automatic nothing.
It's an automatic nothing. It goes to the trash can and it stays there. So that's one of the things that we've been sending a lot of. Well, we're trying to answer those questions in a polite way because it really is a myth. I mean, elections, mail-in ballots, you can't count non-turned-in ballots. Mm-hmm. Why can't we use sales tax for payment of facilities? Nebraska statute doesn't allow us to use sales tax for the construction of school buildings. And so we can't even access it. It's not even an option for schools. And so the only way to build a school is either do it within your general fund budget, which you can't go very far with that, or do a bond issue or bond election. And really, a bond issue is the right thing to do because it gives the community an opportunity to provide input and give permission to the school district. And that's the right way to do it, and not do it in other areas. How can you ensure expansion will cover future growth is a question we get. And so when you look at the touching of all the facilities, again, we're going to increase between 30 and 35 classrooms across the district. And if you estimate 20 students per classroom in those classrooms, that's capacity increase of 600. And with the population study done by the City of Columbus and our enrollment study, we could be at 4,600 students by 2033. And so that'd be a growth.
And I would just like to point out that nobody can predict a future 100% unless you have that little black cue ball that you shake. In which case, let us know.
Yeah, the eight ball. The 8 ball does help once in a while.
You do what you can, and this is looking towards the future.
Correct. And it's like you said, nobody can predict the future, but we have data points, housing development, housing permits, number of open jobs in the community. We have a big project going up on the northwest side of town with the racetrack and the casino. We don't know how that's going to affect us, and we'd rather be ahead at a lower cost than behind at a more expensive cost.
Very true. We're going to keep Dr. L here, Dr. Loeffelholz, and we'll talk more about the bond issue coming up for Columbus Public Schools on KLIR 101. Stay tuned. Sparks, that's Hillary Duff on the Morning Buzz on KLIR 101. It is 9:18, and we are back with Dr. Troy Loeffelholz, who is the superintendent of Columbus Public Schools. We're talking about the bond issue coming up. A couple of other questions that I've heard. First of all, what happens if you start raising how much we have to pay?
Well, we should never raise how much you have to pay. So if the bond issue does pass, it's that $4 per $100,000 evaluation of the home, then that payment stays the same. We don't ask for any more or any less. Some people ask us, well, what if the housing market crashes? What does that look like? Or if inflation goes bonkers, what does that look like? It's the same payment no matter what. We can't ask for any more or any less, and
it's
so that
locked in.
It's locked in, and that's where we're going to stay. And the good thing about that is, after 5 years, we get an opportunity to refinance. So if we do get lower interest rates, obviously that knocks millions of dollars off the payment, and then we can either pay it off earlier or lower the tax levy based upon that.
I have to say, one person I talked to, and I'm not going to say who, but that was one of the things that convinced him that he was going to vote yes, was the fact that in the past you have paid things off early and saved lots of money. Yeah,
we paid our elementary bonds off 3 years early, and we paid the portion of the middle school from the high school bond off 15 years early.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so in the last 13 years, we have saved taxpayers over $14 million by refinancing, paying off bonds early, and doing things within our means.
You mentioned, and I don't understand how this works, but apparently you can claim some of what goes into the bond issue on your taxes?
Yeah, so the legislature a couple years ago passed a bill to where you can claim 25% of your property taxes to the public school system on your income tax. And so that 25% rebate that comes to the individual taxpayer is probably actually more than what you're going to pay for in the increase of what you see through the bond election.
Which is very cool, people.
Yeah. So in your income taxes, make sure you file for that 25% return, so a rebate.
Any other questions that you've had that you'd like to address?
Well, yeah. If people have more questions, we have an email address that they can send it to. It's cps.pr@discoverers.org. And so somebody's monitoring that, and we will answer your questions that you may have regarding the bond election, schools, et cetera, whatever's on your mind. And then the last time you can register to vote online is this Friday, so tomorrow, or you can go into the election commissioner's office and register to vote up through May 1st. So if you want to have that opportunity to weigh in on the bond election, you can do so. All ballots are due by May 9th at 5 o'clock. If they're not in the mail and received on May 9th or turned into the county courthouse and the drop box by 5 o'clock, they're not counted.
So I would say a couple of days before, it's probably safer to put them in the drop box or drop them off at the election office.
Yeah, once you get past May 1st, your best bet to put them drop them off at the drop box, because there's no guarantee they'll be received in time. Also, the last thing probably is Sundays with the superintendent. We're continuing those. Tonight we're at Centennial at 7 o'clock. So if you want an ice cream sundae and learn more about the bond issue, come and join us. And then next Tuesday, we're at North Park at 7 o'clock. And next Thursday, we're at Lost Creek in the middle school at 7 o'clock. So we're going to divide and conquer those two buildings and answer questions from the community. This whole bond election is about permission from the community to move forward. And with our growth, we feel we need that permission to do so. And
I would just like to point out that I personally believe there is never a dumb question. If you don't know it, get the information, people.
Yeah, I would tell you that 60% of the time when questions we answer are questions that are rumors or myths, or, so we want people to have the right information, and don't be afraid to ask. So look for the ballots in the mail. They'll be coming out. If you're not registered, get online and do it by tomorrow, or go to the election office. Yes. And then vote. Vote. Yep. Yes. Let your voice be heard. Yes. This is an exciting time. I'm really looking forward to see what the vote goes, and it's great having you come in and talk, Troy. I really appreciate your time. Well, thank you very much. And if it's a positive vote, we're going to be very thankful and gracious to our community. If it doesn't go our way, we're going to come back and ask a lot of questions, because it's a need, and we want to continue to move Columbus forward. Absolutely. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Riley. Appreciate it. All right. Stay tuned. Coming up, more music on KLIR 101.